You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
What do you do when you can't sleep? Do you go through periods of insomnia, or do you have good night sleeps? Like, if you can't sleep, do you have a secret, I don't want to call it a recipe, but a strategy that can help you get back to sleep?
Sometimes when I have a lot on my mind and that's why I can't sleep, I make myself get up and write it all down in a list, like make a list of things I have to do or for the next day or whatever. And I find that it just like really unburdens my mind, and usually that helps.
So like I write lists a lot actually of task-based to-do lists. So it's if I am like anxious when I'm trying to fall asleep and that's causing that insomnia sort of feel, then I'll write it down, make a list. And I do this in like my regular life as well. Like when I feel overwhelmed, I make a list. Like that's always like sort of my go-to. If I am complaining to like somebody, usually like my friend Holly, I'm like, I feel overwhelmed. She's like, have you made a list? Because that's like that was always my feedback to her all the time. So now that's our code, it's like, have you made a list? Because that's how I sort of get things under control. But for when I've had like severe insomnia that's like anxiety induced and stress induced, that's really hard for me. So I try to think about what it is the next day that is like freaking me out. And the way that I have resolved that is to try and do some of the work that I have to do the next day, the day before.
But what about the kind of insomnia, like it's, so you get into bed, you went to sleep. I like how I make it sound abstract, like this isn't me. Yeah.
The kind of insomnia, yeah.
People talk about things like this, where you have gone to sleep and it was great. You got into bed at a reasonable hour, you had a book, you did that lovely drift off, where the page starts getting weird. And then it's 2:30 and you are awake, staring at the ceiling. You have made every effort to do I'll try this position. I'll try that position. I'll open the window. I'll close the window. Mm-hmm. Then what?
I don't have that very often. I have had it periodically where like I would just wake up at 4:00 and be awake for an hour. And I had no choice but to just be awake for that hour. So I would just like play a game on my phone or read something or
really?
Whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I would be able to go back to sleep after that hour. And I never know why that happens, but like it happens periodically to me. I would like personally, the other thing a friend of mine suggested was counting backwards from 500 by 7, which is like, it's just like a complicated but repetitive thing that your brain gets distracted by like that action and won't get caught up in like whatever the anxiety is of why you're awake.
Yeah. I always make my lists backwards, and this is such a terrible admission. I don't know why. I don't even look at my books after. But what I like to do is in the morning, I like to write down the things I did the day before and sometimes put check marks by them.
I've done that. That's
and
great.
So it looks like if I look back at it, I'm like, wow, what a busy day. Lisa got all that stuff done.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I just like padded it with, things that I managed to accomplish that day. And I'll just put it in. And I love the fact that I put a check mark.
I do a lot of my lists like digitally, so they're like in the drafts folders of my emails. And what I like to do, because you can't use strike through, because otherwise I would cross it off. But so I'll like dark gray highlight to like, so I can still see the thing that I accomplished, but it's also not like really right in my face. And I love to see just like columns of dark gray. Just to tell me that and sometimes I will break something down really specifically, like to the granular, like say I have to write a piece, but I also have to transcribe the story, and then I have to write the story, and then I have to make an image for the story. And like, I will break it down into its sort of smallest components so that I can see how much work actually goes into this thing that, Like,
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I'm getting overwhelmed just thinking about it.
That sounds like a whole parallel level of work to do.
Yeah, that actually sounds like work.
well, I don't do that all the time, but I do it sometimes when I need to just like, because sometimes you're just like, well, why is this overwhelming me? And then you break it down and you're like, oh, it's because this is not just writing a story. Like, you have like 16 things that go into this. Of course this overwhelms you. And like, I just like to be able to sort of identify it and name it, because I otherwise feel like I'm kind of gaslighting myself. I'm like, oh, this shouldn't be this hard. Why are you being such a baby? You know, sometimes I'm not always the softest with myself. You know, and sometimes then my brain is like, okay, well, why don't you really like analyze what goes into like just a story?
Okay, that's a lot more overwhelming.
I'm so sorry.
I'm not there. But I'm very happy to know about this list thing, because I'm going to try that. My method is usually get up and then I have a bowl of cereal. And for some reason, then I go right to sleep after a bowl of cereal.
That's really
I don't know why. And I think it's just because if you wake up in the middle of the night, you can start to feel hungry because you ate dinner at like 7. So when it's like 3 a.m, you should be sleeping through that hunger phase, right?
Yeah, maybe you need a snack before bedtime.
I did read, and this could be made up. Do you like when someone says that?
I always.
Chrissy Teigen says that she goes to bed every night with 2 hard-boiled eggs. Because in the middle of the night...
What does that mean?
Because in the middle of the night, she gets hungry.
Oh, for eating. Okay.
Yeah. What do you think? What did you think they were for?
I don't know. Does she cradle them? I don't know. Does she put them on her eyes to like reduce puffiness? Like,
that would be
I don't know.
an amazing beauty tip. I mean, I just like that would smell not great in my opinion, but I mean, do what you got to do. Like,
well, I suppose it's a quiet snack.
It is a quiet snack. You're right. I can't argue with that. You're right. It's a quiet snack. And
they're already peeled.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting beside her bed on a plate, I guess.
I mean, I have to say, like, I think if like Carlos decided that like he was gonna eat in, I mean, I have a general rule that we don't eat in bed anyways. So like, like if you're bringing eggs to our bed in the middle of the night, I would like you. I think that you should maybe go eat in the kitchen. I just don't want. I know I'm a monster. You're like half awake and you just remember your eggs and you just can nibble on one of them and then go right back to sleep. No, do you know? Like, I guess, I mean, to be fair, Chrissy Teigen does not have a full beard. I can just see myself waking up the next morning with him having a beard full of dried hard-boiled egg smushed into his mustache, and just like the smell being quite overwhelming.
But why are we talking about Carlos eating the eggs? You wouldn't eat them, or you don't eat eggs?
I don't like hard-boiled eggs. I like eggs a little bit. I'll eat them, and like I'm pretty okay at cooking them, but I don't love hard-boiled eggs.
What I don't like is if I have a ramen with chicken, I won't get an egg in it because it feels wrong.
I've heard that like the egg in the ramen is the best egg,
but not with chicken.
That's just a bridge too far in the closeness between the. I mean, it's not like an egg that was stolen from them with a chance to become a.
Makes me uncomfortable.
It's an unfertilized.
Really, it's a psychological thing. It's not a taste thing at all. It's just like you don't.
No, because I love an egg in my ramen. It's delicious, but
you never eat chicken with eggs ever.
No,
because psychologically you don't like it.
It just makes me feel wrong. No.
I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
And you're listening to Pop This. And I feel like this has been a long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
We're finally talking about Desperately Seeking Susan.
We're finally into the groove.
Yeah, finally into the groove. A movie that has literally obviously been around for 35 years. But like we've been talking about doing it for like 5 years, and you couldn't really like rent it anywhere for a long time. And then in the last year or so, it became rentable in Canada. Which, you know, real thrill for me. And so I'm so glad that and honestly, I had forgotten how much I watched this movie as a kid, like a lot. And when we got to the end of Carlos had never seen it. When we got to the end of the movie, he was like, this entirely is like what formed your like obsession with New York City, isn't it? And I was like, well, yeah, this and like Super Fudge and the Babysitter's Club. Like these were my three New York connections as a child, and like why I always wanted to go to New York.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it looks pretty not great in this.
No, it's everything I love. Oh my God, are you kidding me? The apartments are amazing. The alleys are freaky. The clothes are weird. People are strange. Oh my God, this is like true, like, mwah, dream New York. Dream
Wow.
New York.
Okay.
It was one of those weird experiences where I haven't watched it since I was a kid. But then when you rewatch it as an adult, you have these like moments of like you remember scenes so vividly that you haven't thought about in in decades. And you're like, but you know, when you're a child, these scenes are just like burned into your retinas. Like it's an amazing, like I like that experience of like sort of revisiting a movie from your childhood and just being like, oh my God, I spent so many hours obsessing over this.
Yeah, it's muscle memory for me now. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I don't have quite the same visceral feeling. I didn't remember it being so, I don't know, very sweet.
Yeah.
For some reason, I remembered it as being kind of harder of a movie.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah,
and also
sure.
It's extremely misleading when you see the poster.
I honestly had forgotten that it's like a caper.
Yeah.
Like
Or a screwball comedy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, with a little bit of a, kind of a sad suburban housewife kind of feel. And I mean, not that I forgot about that because that's obviously a big part of it. But I just didn't remember it being as sweet as it is. It's just a very sweet movie, actually.
And I agree completely. And also like I did not understand any of the nuances of it, obviously seeing it multiple times as a child. And I haven't seen it now since I was in my early teens. So it's been a significant amount of time that I have not seen this film. I really had forgotten huge parts of it, and yet at the same time could remember where we were going. Every single turn, like it was, and the outfits. I remembered all the outfits.
And I just remember the loft and thinking like,
Loft.
oh, I want to live in a loft when I'm like
That was
someday.
Loft. Like, yeah. Oh my God. The idea of like having to crawl up a fire escape and bypass people, and like having all this open space and this like weird, like detached door fixture in the middle of a room that's like otherwise wide open, and that's like your illusion of privacy. Oh, spectacular.
Or just like wearing the hair scarf like right on top of your head.
I had so many of those.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, so we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but anyways.
Yeah.
Let's
Desperately seeking Susan.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, why are we doing this? I'll start there and then throw to one of you for background and then synopsis. So it is the 35th anniversary of the movie, and it was groundbreaking and a comedy. It's entirely about women, written and directed by women, starring women, and produced by women. It was like 1985 or 86. I can't do math right now. And 1985, excuse me. But it's just like, it's like really cool.
I didn't know that, I never really put all of that together, that it was directed, written, produced, starring. Well, obviously knew the starring part, but yeah, that's quite an accomplishment. And I think that's what you can tell, because we really, really hate Mr. Hot Tub Salesman a lot.
Oh, and yet. Okay, anyway, we'll go. It's fine. My handle, like, so we have to give each other, like, we give ourselves our own names in the program that we used to record this. And so I finally went with Into the Groove. I also almost went with Mark Bloom forever. I loved his performance as Gary Glass. Anyway, we'll get to that, but it's great.
We will. Okay, and should we? Okay, well, Desperately Seeking Susan is a 1985 American comedy drama film directed by Susan Seidelman and starring Rosanna Arquette and Madonna. The film was Madonna's first major screen role and also provided early parts for a number of other well-known performers such as John Turturro, Laurie Metcalf, Aidan Quinn, and Stephen Wright. The New York Times named it one of the 10 best films of 1985.
That blew me away.
That's wild.
I had no idea.
But have you looked at what else
movie.
came out that year? See, like when I've noticed that before. Like sometimes you're like, how did so and so win an Academy Award that year? And you look at the competition, you go, oh. But I mean, I like the movie a lot. So.
But this is such a love letter to New York that I think that's why one of the reasons that the New York Times would like really be obsessed with it, like because it does capture the feel of the city. So
well, I mean. I'm just looking it up right now, and Out of Africa and Room with a View and The Color Purple also came out in 1985.
So that's a good year. Yeah.
That's a very interesting year in film.
St. Elmo's Fire, Breakfast Club.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a year.
Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire came out the same year?
85, apparently.
Huh. Okay. I'm not disagreeing. It's just, what a year, hey?
You saw one at the beginning of the year, and then you saw the other at the end, because that's how you like create the full high school to college experience.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so synopsis. Rosanna Arquette plays Roberta, a Jersey housewife married to a gormless hot tub salesman. Bored and miserable, she lives vicariously through the personal ads in the paper, specifically those addressed to an enigmatic drifter, Susan. Roberta's obsession with Susan leads Roberta to getting hit on the head, waking up with amnesia, and being mistaken for Susan. Screwball antics ensue, involving a chintzy magic show bar, mobsters, and a pair of stolen Nefertiti earrings. And that was from Isabella Trimboli from in The Guardian.
Oh man, what a cast! Like honestly, like just so
when Laurie
good.
Metcalf showed up, and I mean, I remembered Aidan Quinn and Rosanna Arquette and Madonna, but I didn't remember John Turturro. That's for sure. Or Stephen Wright, who did he even have a line in this?
Oh
Which
yeah,
is odd.
He speaks like 3 times, but that's it.
3 times. But I mean, he was quite a well-known comedian then.
Well, I think it was just like
this.
Again, that like New York character actor kind of thing. Like a lot of these folks are like, I think in the theater scene and the comedy scene and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I can see like maybe he had like a larger part to begin with, and like maybe it got cut back a little bit because it's not that long a film. Like,
No. Well, 1 hour and 43 minutes.
Yeah, it drifts a little bit, but like it. Sorry, for some reason I was just thinking about like how the shots are all set up in this. I think like the film work and the framing and the cinematography is so beautiful in this movie, because like I kept taking pictures of the screen at like shots that I thought were like particularly great, and sometimes I would miss them. And I haven't gone back yet, but like, you know, I love to like upload some photos to our Instagram while I'm watching the movies. And I just like kept like just like the framing of like you know, when Roberta's standing in between the new boyfriend and the husband at the end.
After she's been cut in half.
And she's like standing on it, and it's like framed from below. Or when even in the audience, the bad guy is like framed as in behind her husband, and like everyone's like surprised to see her on stage. It just kept like it kept really surprising me with how beautiful individual shots would look with like the lighting and everything. Like I was really like not prepared to find it as beautiful as I did.
I was wondering if Madonna had some sort of contract about how many times she needed to be seen lounging in a bed. Because there was a lot of scenes of Madonna lounging in a bed, in a pool, on a chaise lounge.
Yeah, that was her vibe, I guess.
Total vibe, yeah. That's fun.
But when you think about it, this is like probably Madonna's most acclaimed performance as an actress.
I think A League of Her Own, she's like pretty...
Not Evita?
No, Evita's she's not very good in that, is
No,
she? Like, no. But I mean...
people really liked her in this movie because she's
people
essentially...
love her in this, yeah.
This is how I think she is. I mean, I might be wrong. I mean, obviously, it's not, because she's obviously more driven than Susan. But I feel like that's the reason we kind of find her sexy. I like
Well,
that.
I mean, she's essentially playing in a New York club kid, which she was.
Which she was. Yeah.
I just love, like, I mean, the outfits. She's so charming. She's so fun to watch. Like, I feel
love
like
how Madonna walks. I've always loved how
such a good
Madonna
walk.
walks. Yeah.
Everything, like, it looks like she probably brought her own wardrobe to set, you know, like, it just, and I almost feel like she gets underutilized because she's, I know I'm skipping all over the place here, but, like, honestly, she's so good in her scenes with Mark Bloom, who plays Gary Glass. So do you guys recognize him from the TV show You? He's the creepy bookseller who first locks.
Really?
Yes, that's him. And I loved him so much in You, and then I started to see him. I started to realize that I'd seen him in lots of other things over the years, because he's like a New York theater actor, and he died of COVID last year. And
this is.
I know. I'm sorry.
Wow.
It was really. I was actually really sad last year when he died, because I feel like one, obviously, just no one should be dead of COVID, frankly. But anyway, but like he just, like, I was so taken with his performance in You, and then I started to sort of like seek out some other stuff, and also realized that I had seen him in a bunch of other stuff too. And then when I realized it was him in this movie, because it took me a couple minutes to realize it was him, and I started to like really just like watch his performance, and particularly how he sort of sparks against Madonna. Like when they're in the club and he's just like this awkward like dude trying to dance, and he keeps getting spun around into these other like wild club kids, and he's just like totally out of his element. I think he's just really charming in that performance, even though the character is such a jerk. And then when they're getting high on the couch together, head to head, and she like puts the joint in his mouth for him, I find like their chemistry was just so wonderful. I kept thinking, man, I would love to know whether or not Madonna and Mark Bloom had a short affair
really?
like, while filming this movie, because they just have such good chemistry together. I got really caught up in I haven't looked it up yet, but I'm going to.
I was wondering how much of this Madonna style in that movie, because it was like such a big fashion moment that influenced like so
and
many
it was
people.
her style already.
But like, yeah, did she bring all of that style, or did like the movie did the movie create that style for her?
No, because I think she was part of it, because I remember, like, if you look at sort of her album cover from like '84,
From Like a Virgin, and also like Lucky Star is the first song I think of her in, right?
Yeah, and like I think like if you see like the images, because she hadn't hit the Marilyn thing until like 2 years later, right? So this is really how she started, like bringing this style. And I mean, again, she's just like she was sort of like taking from like the club kid culture, right? And like that, and I mean, Cyndi Lauper, I think also had like a lot of this style as well, and
The tutus and everything.
yeah, and she's also a New York club kid at the time, and like you know, like I think of them as, and those, like their style was honestly everything I wanted to be as like a 7-year-old. Like, oh my god,
both have like full arms full of rubber bracelets.
I had
skinny bracelets.
so many rubber bracelets. I was like, so this movie came out in 1985. I was 6 years old. I probably didn't see it that year. Obviously, my parents are going to take me to go see it like in a movie theater at that point. But you also have to remember, my mom was 26 years old. Like I was watching and my dad was like 27 or 28. I was watching all kinds of things I shouldn't be watching. That's why like I watched Dirty Dancing when I was like 8 years old. So like I was always watching movies I shouldn't be watching from a very young age. And all things considered, Desperately Seeking Susan, not that.
There's
like,
nothing in that that's.
Yeah, like it's fine. But like I obviously didn't get a lot of stuff. But like I remember like for sure, just like this absolutely informing my sense of what I dreamed my fashion could be. And like I would draw outfits all the time because I wanted to be I wanted to be a personal shopper and a lawyer, like between the ages of like 5 and 8.
That's a very common dual
Like a
jobs.
combo?
Yeah.
I wanted to do both. I thought I could do both. People told me personal shoppers that wasn't a real job. And I would like to disagree that I knew that it could be. And I remember like I would draw all sorts of outfits and they always had like a flared tutu kind of skirt and like a skimpy weird top and like layers. I had like a glove with like lace.
I remember I had a pair of those ankle boots that flip,
for sure.
that flip down.
So stylish.
You know,
The best.
we've had this discussion before because I have continued to be Madonna in Papa Don't Preach
Yeah, you've carried her style like
for my whole
forever.
life. Like
Yeah.
I've always found early Madonna, as much as I find it charming, I also find it very messy. I don't really like messy. I like things very organized and sleek, sort of. So Madonna in a black leather jacket and a striped shirt and jeans and ballet flats with that cute little bob sort of thing she was doing.
Yep.
She could have stopped right there.
That's your ideal Madonna.
Okay, that's
I just Googled it. And did you like the bustier with the capri pants?
Yeah. Oh, from Open Your Heart?
Yeah, I guess. The Papa Don't Preach.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's from. Yeah.
Yeah, that's half the dancing, but that's like her dancing, but when she's doing the story about having the baby.
She's in more like noble wear.
Oh yeah, the striped. I see the striped T-shirt. Yes, that is definitely you.
Yep.
See? I've never changed that look.
Boyfriend jeans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, the sort of men's belt. that she's
Right?
wearing.
See?
I love it.
I'm never going to change. Now, I will say that I also enjoyed the Express Yourself Madonna with the pinstripe suit.
Yeah, that's a good Madonna too.
That's like also very sleek.
Yep.
And then when we move up to the Ray of Light, I also liked that
Oh
Madonna.
yeah, that was a little too dewy for me. I love the Blonde Ambition cone bra because that's just like audacious and like ridiculous. I mean, I wasn't gonna wear a cone bra, but like did I in my later teen years wear like form-fitted sort of bustier things with like a larger black velvet shirt over top buttoned up to the navel so that like my breasts could be prominent.
Oh, I'm going to go, yes, you did.
I did.
Probably, yeah.
Like a lace. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Anyway,
I did have, and I loved it so, and I would wear it out a lot. I did have a pinstripe bustier that I bought at H&M with like a little, it was so like Marlena Dietrich, and I would wear it with a white blouse. Like,
nice.
oh my gosh, it was my favorite thing.
Yeah.
It was a real commitment for the evening though.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, right? I mean, it wasn't like quite whalebone. It did have some give. It was plastic, but it still was a definite decision
Yeah.
to wear that out. Like
No,
your
that's a choice.
posture,
Yeah.
and you were going to be standing. I mean, there was no,
Yeah. You can't sit in that.
you cannot sit in that. You look weird. So it was like, but you're going out. Why not do that, right? And that was a favorite look of mine for a time.
Yeah.
I'm just looking like through Madonna's looks through the decades, and the one thing that's like consistent is that she always had some kind of like bustier incorporated into her look, no matter what.
Which
what
even
decade
in
it is.
Desperately Seeking Susan, when Roberta is going through her
Yes. There's the
suitcase,
bustier,
there's
yeah.
a bustier in there.
You know what I loved so much? Okay, so I want to come around and talk about Rosanna Arquette because I think she does such a good job in this, and Roberta is she's very identifiable. Like I think there's like a little Roberta in almost everybody, and I love that, and I think she does such a good job. But my favorite Madonna moment. Okay, my two favorite Madonna moments in this movie, as well. She's eating cheesies and smoking while walking down the street. I just thought that's such a vibe, and it just eating cheesies while wearing mesh and lace gloves and not caring about getting cheesy dust on your fingers. Wow. Power move. Other power move is when she's in the club dancing to her own song.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
And my God, you know what? You don't remember, I didn't understand how happy I would feel to sing along loudly in my living room to every word of Into the Groove. Like, oh my God, so good. And I was like, why don't I listen to more early Madonna? Like, what am I doing? And I'm going to correct that like real fast.
Yeah, that's super interesting that like her older music hasn't really had a resurgence lately. That,
What?
you know, like it's in Spotify or you know, like her songs. Like you hear like Whitney Houston songs kind of
If she died, it would.
coming back and being popular, but there
No, I
hasn't
mean, let's
been
be
like
honest, right? I mean, I don't
80s
mean
Madonna.
to be ghoulish or something, but
No, but like, I mean, you're right to a certain extent. I also think Madonna continues to sort of like just like be a little bit disappointing as like she's just so like just like she'll just do something like once a year that's like you're just like, why are you doing that? Like the milk bath
the
and,
COVID
like, all of
videos have not been great.
That's the thing, and she just continues to like show that she's been too insulated from the world for too long, and like doesn't
That
have
said,
a lot of...
I'm hoping for that for my life.
But like Mariah Carey seems so much more like she is aware of who she is and has done the work in a way that it feels like Madonna is still afraid to do that work. You know what I mean?
I don't
like,
think Mariah Carey's career has been quite the shifts in a completely new look as much as the Madonna's entire, like, you know, the way Kanye West every few years, like, comes out of
Reinvents
a cocoon,
himself.
reinvents himself completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Mariah's got different looks we know over the years, but not quite. She's still been doing the same sort of, not taking away anything from what, because you know I love her.
No, I know.
But it's not quite the same thing.
It's not the same thing, but I just think Mariah Carey, I can't even believe this is leaving my mouth, but like Mariah Carey is like just more real and more authentic than Madonna. And like I think like I just, and I mean maybe this is just because like, you know, I'm spending more time with like her memoir and stuff, and I just feel like she, and I mean, yes, they are like different people, and I you know, we don't have to compare them or anything, but I'm just trying to think of like somebody who's like we're falling back in love with Mariah's early stuff because
yeah, exactly.
But because she's giving us, she's showing us that even though she's disconnected and she's rich and famous to the point of like being removed from society, she is still showing us that she's not so checked out that it's kind of offensive. And
but
Madonna continues to be so checked out, it's almost offensive, you know?
Yes.
Like,
isn't Madonna working on a book though with Diablo Cody right now?
they're working on, I thought it was a musical, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, I thought it was a memoirish book. Well,
Maybe
it's a
memoir.
project.
It's a project, yeah.
But we would probably, as you were saying, that we'll probably get to hear all of that older music then.
I hope so. I just like, I would love to, I don't know, I just love to see like the kind of reflection that we're getting. Like, I don't know, it's just really super interesting. But I just feel like, yeah, Madonna's
well, it's this movie in particular, because I feel like, you know, for a second there I was like, gosh, we're talking a lot about Madonna, but there are very few movies where somebody's starring in it where they're actually Madonna, right? Like, yeah. I know her name is Susan, and I get that.
Yeah.
But it's as if they hired her and then just went, could you just be Madonna? Like, that's all we really need you to be.
Yeah.
And so I have a feeling, I mean, I don't know for sure, but like that there was a story, obviously, about like, you know, it's easy just to say there's a girl, she's, you know, she's a club girl, she's kind of flighty, play her. But it was Madonna playing Madonna, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said, dancing to her own music in the club. She looks like her, like the whole style, vibe, everything.
Oh, you know what sad story I read while I was writing the outline? Rosanna Arquette, you know the jacket that she wear?
Yeah.
They both wear
the
in the movie
pyramid?
with the pyramid on the back.
Yeah.
She apparently loaned it to Peter Gabriel's two daughters like some time ago, and they've misplaced it. So it's now gone. No one knows where it is.
That sucks.
That doesn't, you know what? That doesn't make up for the In Your Eyes at all.
I do think Madonna's really good in this movie. I think her performance is great, and she's really fun. And I think I almost wish she'd been given more to do. But I love Rosanna Arquette's performance as Roberta.
So lovely.
She's so good. And isn't it nice to see a movie where people were allowed to have like unique and interesting teeth? Like, I feel like it's been so long.
Wow,
since
I hadn't even.
that was one of the first. I was like, Aidan Quinn has like his regular teeth, his like no veneers. Rosanna Arquette gets to have like a tiny, cute little overbite, not like a big one, huge one, but like a cute little overbite. Like everyone gets to have normal teeth in this movie, and what a delight that is.
You know what made me really laugh was the scene where there's when Jim has busted into the place, and then Des is telling Jim that he had this fling with her. And I'm like, yeah, of course she could, because it's hard to tell you two apart. Like, let's just...
Yeah.
I mean, I just was like, was this the only type of guy that was considered attractive? You know, it was just so funny. She looked like
the lanky, like New York punk Lower East Side dude. Like, I just...
With the baggy pants and this whatever that deal was.
I've been finding this lately when I'm watching movies, like especially older British movies, that there's usually a line in it where they're like, oh, this is the handsome character or the beautiful character. And I'm like, really?
I know.
Interesting.
Well, that's the thing. Like, there were such, like, wonderfully, you know... I don't know. Beauty, I think, just used to be like a little bit more interesting, and I really appreciate seeing that play out in, like, I think specifically actually the 70s and 80s.
Yes,
because
definitely.
There's a little more sort of like conformity starting in the 90s, and like obviously as plastic surgery and different things have sort of taken over our lives, and you know, and I mean this is a movie obviously like it's still a bunch of like. You know, obviously Madonna's beautiful and Rosanna Arquette's beautiful, like, et cetera, et cetera. Aidan Quinn, you know, nothing hard to look at there. But, like, I just, it was nice. I don't know. Like, Laurie Metcalf has such a specific look. And I mean, obviously she's had a great career, but, like, it was just so, and Gary, and Mark Bloom, he has a specific look. And just even seeing, like, John Turturro and Stephen Wright, like, all of these, like, all of these people... it was, I don't know. It was just nice to see all these people. Like the club in it feels like, it just feels like what you would imagine, you know, in the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, like you feel like that was that club in the 50s. And then this is where that club evolved to in like 85.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote down some notes about Susan Seidelman because I hadn't heard of her or her work before looking it up for this movie. And she has such an impressive resume.
The first Sex and the City?
She directed the pilot episode of Sex and the City. And she was the earliest her movie, The Smithereens, was the earliest American indie feature to be screened in competition at the Cannes Film Festival. She directed a film called She Devil, starring Meryl Streep.
I love She Devil and Roseanne.
Comedic film role.
Oh my God, so
film role with Roseanne Barr in her first feature film role. But yeah, I read this interesting thing about how this one writer made a connection between Desperately Seeking Susan and the pilot episode of Sex and the City because they're both depicting New York and just how in that through the eyes of the same as director. And it's just like how dramatically New York changed between the 80s and the 90s, and just like how like the female characters are different, how the male characters are totally different. And there's this really good quote that let me just read it here. For better or worse, it had become more moneyed in the 90s. In Sex and the City, the leading man was an investment banker whom you never saw working but lived in an amazing apartment. And while the leading women of Desperately Seeking Susan express their independence through creativity, in Sex and the City, feminism is firmly equated with consumerism, as expressed by the ability to buy $400 Manolo Blahniks. That's from Arwa Madawi in The Guardian.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, it's it's amazing that it's just like, I never considered that before. Just like that kind of such a dramatic change in New York from the 80s to the 90s.
You broke my heart, though, with this alternate ending thing you found.
Oh, yeah. Rosanna Arquette talked about that.
Yeah, that the original ending that they sounds like they filmed is that they go off together on an adventure and you see them on camels in the desert, in the Sahara, without the guys.
Yeah.
And wow, I would have loved that ending way more.
But apparently it tested really badly
of course
with
it
audiences. And so they changed it.
Yeah, I mean, God, friendship is always going to apparently compare like negatively to like, you know, heterosexual romantic blah blah blah.
But
like,
what a peculiar thing too, because there wasn't any reason, like the way the film was like, okay, we had this discussion with When Harry Met Sally because we learned the same thing, that there was an alternate ending, right? That they don't end up together. Which I would argue, if I was in the test screening, I would be pissed too. Because, come on, we've gone all this way with these people. Whereas, in this movie, there was definitely a sense of, we could ditch the guys. Right? Like, it was her trying to get away from her husband. It was Madonna not being particularly attached to any of these guys. And so it felt like that would be a natural, that they finally meet when they come tumbling in.
Yeah.
In that room. That would have been so great. Plus, it's hilarious that they're in this movie together and that's the only scene they're really together.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And I mean, I appreciate that, like, we see them, like, the final cut is like them getting an accommodation for like returning these lost earrings and like hands united in the air and stuff. And like, I mean, maybe it was the Sahara thing that didn't play well. Maybe it was just
which
like
in Sex and the City they do too. Which yeah, no, I know, but
not great in the Sex and the City one. But maybe it was. I don't know.
Better if they were scuba diving.
I'm giving too much credit to. I'm giving too much credit to like test audiences of the 80s, but like it seems as if we. Like the Thelma and Louise ending, right? People were really into that because they chose death and freedom in their own way. Like they equated that death with freedom, and they went together, and that was like their, you know, beautiful fatalist sort of thing. This would be like women being able to be without men after they have spent the whole movie sort of like, she spends the whole movie leaving her husband, but she does it sort of by being constantly rescued by Des, right? So it doesn't like sort of set her up necessarily to be like standing on her own 2 feet per se. When she leaves Gary at the end, that is like certainly her making that choice. And then she goes to Des and like sort of chooses him, but she's not necessarily like searching for freedom. She's like been beguiled by this Susan woman who like,
yeah, she's beguiled by Susan, not Des.
No, I understand that, but like because she never gets to end up spending any time with, she gets to end up instead like embodying Susan. Yeah, and she sees that doesn't work either. She can't go back to herself. She can't be this other person. And so the closest like proximity is that she, I guess, is now friends with Susan, dating Des, and the 4 of them are double dating. And I
do not see
it's
that.
Not great. It's not great. It's no. I know.
Well, this film was partly inspired by a French movie called Celine and Julie Go Boating from 1974. Oh. And I think like in that film, the 2 women end up like the ending, they were at the pyramids on camels. And so they were going to try they're going to try and do that in Desperately Seeking Susan to be a reference to that movie. But then the audience hated it, the test audience.
When I think about it, that there was an alternate ending, it makes much more sense to think Roberta wouldn't just go wanting, like she wasn't seeking out an affair like her dumb, gross husband was.
Yeah.
She was seeking out Susan.
Well, and the movie is afraid to sort of play with what that could also mean.
Except for a couple of gross throwaway lesbian lines, which was odd.
It's got like a lot like the sort of like homophobia.
Yeah.
That sort of casual 80s homophobia that's very popular, but it refuses to sort of contend with like any sort of like real validation of like even a bisexual curiosity. Like it's very coded as opposed to, and we see it more about that thing that is expressed a lot of the time is just this like that women, which I think is valid, but like that women can just, develop these intense attachments to other women that are platonic, but that manifest in these intense ways. Like I think that is true, but I also think like just don't be so coy about like just let ladies like each other. Jesus.
Well, and also if they really want us to believe that she wants to end up with Des, I think it would have been a better scene if we watched her have like really good sex. Like if there had been a moment where, because we saw those books in her nightstand.
Yes.
And heard Gary say she doesn't like sex.
Well, we never get to see her really like just like fully enjoy herself. Like she makes the moves.
So we don't really get to see her. Like we don't get to see her except for just saying, Gary, we're done. But why? Why were they done? Like what? It didn't. Anyway.
I mean, it made sense to me, but like because like Gary just seemed to like he was concerned with her. He was having an affair. He's concerned with like surrounding himself with beautiful women in hot tubs in commercials, and he wants everyone to like pay attention to him. And he tells her not to eat the cake. That made me really mad. And he immediately is just like he's obviously wants to be dominated by women. Like he's under Susan's spell in like 4 seconds, and he's super concerned about his wife potentially being involved in sex work. There's a lot of sex work shaming as well, which I found irritating. It's expected, I think, in 80s films a lot of the time, but I don't like it. What I feel like we didn't like that we sort of get a little bit shortchanged in is seeing more of the club. I really wanted to spend more time in the club, and how are they surviving? How is this place busy enough on the Saturday night that they can't all see each other? They're all standing 7 feet from each other. How can they be like, I don't see her, I don't see him? Like there's not enough. That club is small. And it's mostly empty, and like this is ridiculous.
There's a lot of smoke. Then
I guess they were a lot of dry ice and like,
a lot of
fog
machines. There was a whole thing.
I guess we've been talking about this movie for a long time, so
we could.
But like, I think this is a really important question that AG has proposed in this outline. Should we or should we not do Madonna's entire filmography? So Shanghai Surprise, which I have recently listened to a How Did This Get Made about, and it did not go well. Like it's a pretty not great film.
This is
Who's That Girl? Dick Tracy, Body of Evidence, Evita, Swept Away. We've already done A League of Their Own.
Has anyone ever endeavored to do this?
I think
to watch the entire Madonna oeuvre? Like it's an odd one to choose. Like not even a real actress. It's not like, it's short in that way. That's good. It's not like we're picking Julia Roberts or Meryl Streep or something for sure. But
yeah, and I do love Dick Tracy, or at least I did when I was 12. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
I haven't seen it. I might have seen Dick Tracy when I was younger, but I haven't
Swept
seen
Away
any of those
that one
other
she
movies.
directed too. The one like that last one.
Maybe.
I believe so.
Yeah. You know what? We all need a project.
I haven't committed to this yet. Let me think more.
Okay.
I love that you guys are both on board.
We could become the Madonna experts.
Like we became the Gary Marshall expert.
But just in her filmography.
Yeah.
Just her filmography.
Yeah.
So, does this film pop?
Oh yes, I think everyone should watch it. It's so fun.
Yeah, I love it
It's
so much.
fun. I actually think I recognize what you're saying about New York looking really gritty and dirty and things like that, but you could almost make that now. I don't think it almost didn't look too dated.
I think it does capture a very specific sort of 80s New York that I don't think exists that much anymore.
No.
But it just feels so good. It always feels so good to see New York. in
Yeah, no,
like
I just
whatever iteration.
And this is possibly Madonna's greatest acting performance.
well, we're about to find out, aren't we?
Prove me wrong.
Well, okay. I mean, I do think that if we do her entire filmography, maybe we should revisit A League of Their Own, because I don't think we did a proper episode just about it. I think it was part of our sports like decathlon
Yes.
when we were doing the Olympics like a long time ago. So I think we should add A League of Their Own back in. Just consider my
Okay,
proposal.
well.
Consider my proposal.
You just made this 12 episodes long.
Yeah.
Great.
I think we could add it as a.
Why don't we
like
do
a-
her documentary? Because we know Lisa's a huge fan
I would actually. I haven't seen
of documentaries.
I haven't seen her Truth or Dare.
Truth or
doc
Dare?
in
Yeah,
a
look at
long
Truth or
time.
Dare.
We could put Truth or Dare on
We
there.
should definitely
over,
put Truth or Dare on that. And in all honesty, like over Shanghai Surprise, frankly, like if we're gonna eliminate one.
No, you got to
I-
put that. That's canon. Come on,
I
that's
know,
got
I
Sean
know,
Penn
I know.
and
Sean
George
Penn is
Harrison
just so
and-
gross. Ugh, I just
You can't.
what a vile. Anyway, yes, okay. We have so now we've made it 2 extra films that we've added. I can't wait. This is great. We
Let
should
us
really
know if
like.
there are any other Madonna
Oh, it's
movies that we.
you know what? This is like a great project though, like for real, like to just like roll out like the summer of Madonna. Like I really think this could be like a really fun summer.
Well, and I mean, I would just love to be the people, like someone's doing a story on Madonna's filmography, and like we're the people that they call up because we've
We
seen
will be called up. We will be.
every single movie and done a podcast on it.
Yeah,
I
we
love
have
it.
seen all of the. So whose complete filmography have you seen? Madonna's. That would be my answer.
That would be so amazing.
Not Truffaut, not Meryl Streep, no. Not Anthony Hopkins, no.
Meryl
Madonna.
Streep makes too many movies. You can't.
Yeah,
no,
you can't.
Madonna's a reasonable.
Who's got time for that? We've got time for Madonna's filmography.
You know, and the other, and what's your second favorite filmography you've ever done? Well, we have done a severe number of Gary Marshall films.
We've strayed a little different than I don't know other people with film podcasts, but you know.
Yeah, that's what makes us neat. It's going to make us unique in the film podcast world.
It
Yeah,
sure is.
it's how we jump around to television, film, and so many, and just like and really specific curatorial experiences.
Very, very specific.
Very.
We're gonna like
specific.
be in Madonna's mind. We're gonna like by the time we get to the last one, we're gonna say, I saw this coming based on the other things she did. I felt this. There was a trajectory toward this place.
Absolutely.
This moment. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so we love to end our episodes on something we recommend. Lisa, do you want to go first?
Yes. So I was lent this book, and I'm recommending it, but for certain people. So it is called "This Is Going to Hurt." It's The Secret Diaries of a Medical Resident by Adam Kay. So Adam Kay is now a comedy writer, but he did go through medical school in England, and he kept this journal while he was working, and it is equally hilarious and equally terrifying and also quite harrowing, because nobody needs to know that new doctors make this many mistakes.
Oh God.
Nobody needs to know, but it's also a super interesting look into what, a young medical student, when they first become residents, what the expectation on them is and what that looks like, and, how much can you be expected to do. And so I will leave it up to you, all of you listening. If it's hilarious and it's super interesting, but at the same time, if you have any kind of fear of hospitals, doctors, or care, don't read it.
I am not going near that. But thank you for the recommendation.
Yes.
And honestly, the warning. I really appreciate that.
Oh yeah, I could just tell. I'll just give one story out of it that made me laugh. So all the residents are kind of Grey's Anatomy style, sitting around after a long shift, kind of comparing notes of weird symptoms that their patient said they had. And one of them goes something like, "Oh, this guy said he had itchy teeth, and this guy said his arm felt tingly when he peed. And then one guy goes, oh, yeah, I had this patient who said he was sweating on only one side of his face. And then he's waiting for the laugh, and everybody went, well, that's such and such syndrome. It means he has a lung tumor. God. And he looks and he goes, does everyone else know that? And they're like, yeah, all of us know that. And he runs off to get on the phone to bring the patient back.
Wow. That's
oops.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, it's my bad.
Yeah. So it's that kind of stuff. If you like that, then read it.
No one wants that. No, I'm kidding.
Nobody wants that.
I'm sure
no,
some
I know.
people do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you so much. AG, what about you?
So I watched the first episode of Queen Latifah's new TV series called The Equalizer.
Yay!
I heard it was
reboot.
good.
Yeah, it's really good actually, and she plays like I guess like it's been a movie and a TV series before, and it's a reboot, and she plays like kind of a vigilante. And the thing I really love about it is that there are scenes of her doing like just kicking ass in this movie in the first episode of the TV series, where she's just like a Jason Bourne type of beating on a person. And it's just like, it's amazing to see Queen Latifah do that. And I just like, it's a great show. And so far there's only one episode that's come out, and I really enjoyed it. Great story.
What are you watching it on?
Continue watching it. It's on it's like on broadcast TV. You have to turn, like you have to go, I think it's like Global or something like that. And so I watched it on the Global app on our TV where they show you ads. And so I also discovered that they've rebooted Punky Brewster.
Oh, I knew about that. I've seen that.
I didn't know about that.
I've watched the trailer for that. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that's necessary, but yeah, maybe somebody does.
I'm thrilled that Slayman Fry is working, but yeah. But the Equalizer one though, I want to watch, and
yeah, you should.
I like a good cop drama. I do.
Yeah.
So
she's not a cop though. She's like a vigilante.
Yeah, but there's cops in it. No.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
I mean, I really, Vigilante 2021 now is definitely the time.
Yeah, I know. You just like, you kind of watch it and you're like, man, if we lived in a world where Queen Latifah like was the vigilante that went around like rescuing people from trouble, like that would be a great world to live in.
I like it.
I love it. So that sounds so fun, and I love Queen Latifah so much, so that's great.
Me too.
I am going to recommend. So while Grandma has been convalescing with us, and even before that, actually, like we've started to watch a lot of Hitchcock films. Some that she has seen, some that she hasn't. Most I've never seen, and Carlos has seen quite a few. And I finally watched for the first time Strangers on a Train.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I had never seen it before. And I can't believe I had never seen it before. Because how do you not, like, how is it that I did not understand that, like, this movie would have several pivotal scenes in the strangest, amusement park in the world, and would end with a, like, out of control, carousel. Where a little old man is belly crawling underneath a carousel. And Carlos told me after, like, a spoiler alert, but like they filmed that like for real while the carousel was moving that fast. And Hitchcock said if the old man had raised his head even an inch higher, his head would have been ripped off. It is the wildest thing I have ever seen, especially considering the movie is like, whatever, 1 million years old. It's quite incredible. And I know that Hitchcock himself, not a good man, definitely not a great man, not even a decent man. But it has been really interesting to see his films and see the role that they play in the foundation of so many other films, where you can see.
Where did you watch it on? What?
Crave has like many of his old films, and so does Amazon Prime.
Both
of them have a lot of his old films, and honestly, YouTube has some of the films that have just been uploaded to there as well. So, but yeah, I watched it on Crave, and Oh boy, what a great time.
Excellent. I'm going to watch that this weekend.
Oh my God, so amazing.
Good.
Yeah, just what a delight. Anyway, thank you so much everyone for listening. We really appreciate you hanging out with us every week, or catching up with us, or taking us along with you on whatever adventures you're having in the pandemic. It's been
such as they are.
Such a
your
time.
daily walk.
Yep.
Your nightly walk, whatever.
Time.
Mm-hmm.
However you're doing it, great job. You can hang out with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You could email us at popthiscollective@gmail.com. You could rate and review us 5 stars.
Always 5 stars. And our 5-star general here, Andrea Gin, and our co-host. And we sure appreciate you all the time joining us. It's not as lonely as it could be.
You weren't here last week to say that, and we totally went off the rails.
So
because we didn't know how to end the show.
Yeah, it was honestly.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. Like, it's totally fine that you weren't here, but like, I would like. If you want to hear what the podcast sounds like when you're not around, take a listen to that episode.
Oh, I'm going to.
Take a listen to that episode.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Okay.
Oh, gosh. So
All
fun.
right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.